I'm going to take a look at something that may be considered a little controversial. I managed to pick up one of the V-22 Ospreys. Hi everyone, welcome back to the channel. If you like this video and want to see more like it, please do subscribe and hit that notification bell. If you want to catch me live, I stream on Twitch 3 times a week. Head over to twitch.tv/Between the Bricks. So before we get started, I think I should probably put in a little bit of background. I'm not the biggest of Technic fans. Anybody who's watched my channel for any amount of time knows that I'm not the greatest of Technic fans. However, when the opportunity arose to purchase the V-22 Osprey legitimately through stores in New Zealand that were able to sell them and were permitted by LEGO to sell them, I jumped at the chance for the simple reason I wanted to add it to my collection because I know that in the future this model is going to have a story. I built it, and to be honest, I enjoyed it more than I thought. Let's take a look. If you want to check the assembly process of this model, I did build it live on Twitch. Head over to twitch.tv/Between the Bricks and check out the VODs. I really was impressed by the model itself. I'm not the greatest of Technic fans, but I do actually love aircraft, and I do love military aircraft because I'm ex-military myself. I know that's all the wrong reasons to love it and partly the reasons why it was cancelled, but I'm not making any apologies. I feel like this was actually a really good model, and I'm very disappointed that other fans are not going to get their hands on it and enjoy the build as much as I did. The Osprey itself is a military aircraft, there's no denying it. It does not have a rescue capability, but this is what it could look like if it did have a rescue capability. It is a transport aircraft. It is considered a tilt rotor. It has vertical takeoff and landing, and it is a very versatile workhorse for what it is. Now, I have I guess a long-standing passion with this aircraft because I can remember when it first sort of came to light, and I'm ex-military myself, so I sort of have a passion for these sorts of things. And I remember when they first started developing this aircraft, they had a lot of problems with it. There were a lot of crashes in the test flights. There was some major issues with the tilt rotor system, and then getting it to fly horizontally. There was all sorts of problems, but at the end of the day, I guess they worked through them and produced a stable workhorse that is very versatile for what the machine is. Now, I guess mainstream media, or I think Transformers, the movie, was probably what made this aircraft relatively famous, because I can remember it quite clearly in the first Transformers film, and you know, it played a relatively important part in that film. There was one point where it just about got yeeted across the room. I got up to about a yeet factor 9. If you're not sure what's a yeet, yeet! Okay, so taking a look at the model in itself, it really is quite nice. The designers did a fantastic job of filling in the vast majority of the blanks. For a Technic set, you know, you still have all of the obvious Technic pins and the colors where all of the pins are. The blues and the reds particularly seem to stand out. And there are a few little gaps and bits and pieces everywhere, but you know, I actually think they did a really good job of creating the shape of the aircraft and doing it justice. And I think the thing that's really important to know, and it's like every Technic set, it's really quite robust. It does not feel like it's going to break or fall apart in your hands. I guess probably the most important thing that I think everybody's probably here to look at is the functions. There are plenty of them. There is just a single switch function on the back here to sort of raise and lower the flap here, and that's just a manual function. And then there is some battery functions in this. This set, as I understand it, is the first time that they have introduced a powered up battery box, and for want of a better description, it's a dumb battery box in the sense that You just put the batteries in, you turn it on, you turn it off, and it operates the whatever's plugged into it, similar to the old powered up battery boxes. Now this is important because all of the other powered up battery boxes so far have been powered up hubs or battery box hubs, which requires a tablet or a device to operate whatever's plugged into it. This is not, it's just turn it on and it will run, turn it off and it will stop, which is important for things like you know, GBC builders and whatnot. So power functions here, the on off switch is just on the left hand side, just behind the cockpit. Switch that on and you'll hear the motors power up. If you want to engage the rotors, it is the top switch on the right hand side. To tilt the rotors, it is the top left hand side. Now this particular aircraft is not designed to have the rotors tilted forward whilst it's in the landed position. The rotors tilted forward is its flying operation mode when it is up in the air. So it's vertical takeoff and landing. So the rotors are not meant to be tilted forward while it's on the ground. Therefore, if you were to tilt them forward while it's sitting on the desk, the rotors will hit the desk. That should be expected. I'm going to tilt the rotors forward now, but I'm going to lift the aircraft so that they don't hit the desk. So I've found in my particular model that the rotors tilting forward is a pretty smooth operation. They do tilt forward quite nicely, however tilting them back to the upright position, one side seems to go up quite nicely and the other tends to struggle, although today they're both going up quite nicely. There we go. And tilt forward again. And tilt back up again just for a second test. And you can see as the rotors tilt up and down, these flaps here also tilt with them. You can hear that the gears are working pretty hard to get those rotors up. And put it back into neutral. It's quite important when you're positioning anything in this model that you need to put the gear back in neutral relatively quickly, otherwise you will hear the gears grinding somewhat. The other functions of the aircraft that are also powered is the ramp in the rear goes up and down, and it's not only the ramp but the aft door. So maybe from this angle here we'll get a better view of the aft door as well. So once again, I'm just going to lower the ramp. The aft door lifts, and then to close the door, the ramp comes up and the aft door will come down. The final function is the landing gear, which will retract. And lower. I have seen articles and posts where people have said that the gears and the gearbox destroys itself. To be honest, at the moment, so far, after having moved the tilt rotors forward and backwards probably 6 or 8 times, I have not experienced any real difficulties. I'm not a Technic expert, so I'm not really qualified to comment on why or how that is, or whether there's a design flaw or not. But for me, so far, the model has worked reasonably flawlessly, or worked in a way that I would have expected it to work anyway. So I can't really speak to that. There's only one thing that I don't really like about the model, and that is there is a lot of weight in the front, but the positioning of the landing gear in the rear is so far forward that the center of gravity is very, very close to a pivot point, and it takes very, very little pressure to make the aircraft fall backwards. So it is just slightly off balanced in that sense, in my opinion. When you take the batteries out of the battery box, that problem is compounded, and it is almost, very much almost balanced specifically on the wheels, and you just essentially you just have to touch it ever so slightly for it to tilt backwards. So I don't know whether that's going to be an issue for people on display. They're going to the slightest touch in and it's going to rest back, or whether you put something underneath to prop the back up or not. I know that people probably are not going to want to keep batteries stored in the machine all of the time because of fear of leakage and stuff like that, and that's fair enough. So yeah, just be aware of that one. It is slightly off balance in that sense. However, for the sake of the model itself, you know, it's a small price to pay. It's an easy fix if you want to just stick a brick underneath the back to make sure it doesn't fall over when it's sitting on display. And let's face it, it's only going to tilt backwards. It's not going to do any harm to the model itself. The build of the model was quite enjoyable. Bag 1 consisted mostly of the lower fuselage, the cockpit area, and these side pods, and including all of the landing gear. Bag 2 was essentially all of the gearing, all of the motor system, and the 2 wings. Bag 3 consisted of the 2 rotor pods, and Bag 4 was the rear wing assembly and most of the decoration, or the closing in of the top of the fuselage. So those are my thoughts on the V-22 Osprey. If you have any questions, please do comment below. I do read all of the comments in the videos, and I will do my best to answer them. If you want to see more, or if there's something about the model specifically that you would like to know, hit me up and I will do my best to answer those questions for you. I do realize that there aren't going to be many of these models out there in the wild, so I am more than happy to try and help out fellow fans. Thank you so much for watching. Please be safe out there, keep building, and I'll catch you on the next one.